Hey guys! So this week I'm going to be talking about signatures and signing your artwork. Now, signatures go back a long way, you know. There used to be signias that would be on rings. There used to be, wax seals on letters, things like that to also prove that things haven't been tampered with. Then there comes, in Japan, there's the stamps that you would see on things like that. And now, as an artist, you simply just sign your artwork most of the time. So I'm just going to give you a quick run through of all these different ways of doing things, and hope you learned something. So here I have a few seals. These are metal, so that way the wax will not stick to them. They're not the most amazing designs. I got this one from my mother that says "Swack," sealed with a kiss. So, you'd use that when you're sending a letter to someone you love. The M I got for my wedding invitations because my husband's name is Mayu. And then there's a double hearts, which I've had, I think, probably was my first seal that I got. And then there's this butterfly, which is also a nice one. I tend to use the butterfly more often than not if I'm going to be sealing something. So there's these different color seals. You can, like this says, buy them at Hobby Lobby. But if you're against Hobby Lobby, which I kind of feel that some people should be, there are a lot of other stores you can buy them at. They aren't as regular as they used to be, sadly enough. Not a lot of people use them anymore, but I'll just do one here for you guys. So I have my wax here. There's going to be a wick. You just need to light it like a candle. So of course, if you're a child, get someone to help you with this. Fire is fire, so pay close attention, especially since you're going to be having paper around. You don't want to risk while setting your paper or artwork on fire. Okay. So you're going to want to try and let it pool a little bit. So I'm holding it upwards so that the wax will start melting maybe a little bit more on top. And then you're going to slowly start to let it drip down onto the paper. Now, it's okay to spread it around dot by dot, kind of make a bigger pool, because you need something that's pretty close to what your seal is. You need a circumference, because it will expand some, but you wouldn't want it to not do a nice seal. Okay, good enough. So I'm just going to then figure out which way is the front way and press down. Now that's just cooling off. It shouldn't take too long for you to be able to then lift it off. You can see it is attached to the paper right now. And there we go. So let me zoom in here. So there's the seal. I could have added a little more around this edge to get more of a perfect circle, but in most instances, if this were a seal to prove who I was, the fact that it has that is enough. Sometimes there could be things hidden inside, like the segments of the body would have needed to be numbered 3 or 5 to be a signifier that it's mine. Things like that would have been done back in the day to prove that you were who you were claiming to be in your letter. So if you don't have the money to get invested in something like this, or buying the waxes that are needed, because these waxes are different than just candle waxes. They will not leave a film or break away like a regular wax would, so it is different. But if you don't have the money to get started on all that, or carve your own or anything like that, you can always buy a stamp or make a stamp. But here's just a bought one. This is an M. This is what my husband used to sign his letters with. So then you just need some ink. So this is the ink I have. And just making sure that it's covered. Okay. Now I'm just going to put it down. and try to put pressure on all sides. So forward, back, side to side without moving the stamp. That way you're making sure that you're getting all the detail that you want. Now I could have done better. It's not the best. It's not the best. I guess I didn't rock down here on this corner very well. You can still see quite a lot of paint there, or ink rather. But that's another method. So what do you do if you don't want to use a bought one and you want it to be unique to you, like a Signia would be? Well, you can make your own. This is my first prototype. It's just on the back of a vitamin C bottle here in France. This is a stone that I got at the Crazy Horse in the US. You can buy these stones which have been bored out of the the statue there, the carving into the wood, into the rock, sorry, and then I made a seal onto it. So what did I use for this? Well, that is using Suguru. I've talked about Suguru before and I've used it on many things. Now these little packs, one of them should be more than enough to make your seal. You just mold it and put it on, let it cure, so at least 24 hours curing time so that it's hard, and then you can go in and carve out the design you want. Now this is just using an X-Acto and a small box cutter. It is not the best carvings ever, and I wish that I actually had rubber carving tools when I had done them. I might remake one in the future, but for now I don't use them as much as I would like because I just forget about it often enough. So that's Suguru. I highly suggest giving it a try. Suguru is great for everything, not just art projects, not just making stamps. There is ways to use it in everything that you do. So this one, there are some flaws, but I'll just show you what it looks like. Okay. Okay, so it's okay. You can see there is a C and an S. So that's for Christina Smith, which is my name, my family name. I always use my last name and not my married last name because Smith is who I am. And that's the way I like it. I like to keep my name. And that's important that when you're starting to make artwork, that you try to stick with the name that you first had. So when I started making artwork, I was Smith. I got married for the first time and I started to change it to Russ, which was a mistake. I should have stayed with Smith the whole time. So there are some artworks out there of mine that have Russ, and there's nothing I can do about that. But here, I'll just show you this one. So this was my second attempt. And I'm kind of rocking it like I was showing you on the other, but it doesn't rock as much because the Suguru doesn't give as much as the rubber stamp. So you can see that it's more clearly defined here, the C and the S. And you just want to make sure that you clean these after every use because the inks could always start eroding things. So it's always a good idea to clean anything that you use after each use. So what I would normally do on something like this, for a while I did, and I probably should, I think what I'd do next time is maybe make something smaller. It is quite large. You know, if you look at my finger here, it's, you know, it's more than an inch, really. So what one could do after this point is then, let's see if it's dry. Okay, it's not dry. Wow. These aren't good examples because they're not dry yet, but you would sign your name and then you would put your year that you did it. Now, you could actually sign over your seal or around it. It doesn't really matter. Those are just identifiers for your actual signature and the year that you made your artwork. Now, those are options that are more than just your written signature. So for a long time, I would just do my last name. and then the year circled. That is very basic stuff. Yeah, that is the most basic way you should sign any of your artwork. Now, something that I do is sort of mimicking my stamp. So I do a CS so that they're overlapping. And then I do a small box with Smith and then the year. Sometimes I switch those. Sometimes I sign on the top, sometimes I put the year on the bottom. It doesn't really matter. There's no rules as far as I know as to one way being correct and one not. But I mean, it's no secret. You can see my signature on the bottom of my artwork all the time. So showing you this is not giving away some kind of trade secret or anything. But these are examples of, well, through history, you could say, of how one might sign things. First with seals, then stamps, and you know, this is slightly more Asian with the way the stamp is. And I like that, even though I don't draw specifically Asian artwork, I still think that it's nice. And I would like to revisit this kind of design, but make it a bit smaller, so that then instead of doing this, I would actually just have my stamp similar to this, with the date and the name. But the main point here is to make sure that you sign all of your artwork. Sign your digital work, sign your traditional work, sign anything that you doodle, because it's important. If somebody keeps it, you do become famous, it is worth something. If you don't, and they find it and it meant something to them, they might want to find you again. It's who you are, your signature matters, and developing your own is important. But by the very least, please, at least do this. At least do your last name and the year that you made it. And if you have any questions about signatures or how you do it, please leave it in the comments below. If you'd like to join me on Patreon, I am still running my campaign there, and every little bit helps. We're up to 10 patrons now, making 66 a month, which is awesome. I'm very grateful for everything. So please check out the link, and I will see you guys later.